Thank you for staying with Monday Special. I'm Jackie Maribe. Tonight we discuss what you eat and cancer. It is Monday. We're coming straight from the weekend, and for most people, entertaining includes having barbecued meat, right? How to enjoy a social weekend with friends and with family, your regular nyama choma. As you can see on set, we have a taste of that tonight on Monday Special, but following a warning by the World Health Organization, specifically the International Agency for Research on Cancer this month. Processed and red meat has been put as one of those risk factors near tobacco use and such. We have a panel ready to discuss while eating or consumption of red and processed meat, the correlation with cancer. To my right, we have Dr. Ahmed Kalebi. He's not a new guest on this show, but thank you so much for joining us tonight. He is a pathologist. You will, of course, be giving us your insights on that. Next is Agnes Wangusi. She is a nutritionist. She will be giving us the insights on what to eat and what not to eat. A lot of people are wondering whether we stop eating red meat altogether. Agnes Wangusi will be delving into that. And finally, we have Dr. Catherine Nyongesa, an oncologist. She will be telling us exactly how this relates to cancer. I will start generally with what we have on our table. Any given day, it is a culture that we have right here in our country. We love to entertain. We love even to just be at home with our families and enjoy our red meat, our barbecued meat, go to these social places, enjoy our nyama choma. But now we're being told there's a warning. This could cause cancer or increase your chances of getting cancer. Dr. Kalebi, I will start with you. Give us that process. First of all, carcinogenicity. That is something we will be talking about a lot in this show. What is that?
I mean, carcinogenicity basically means what causes cancer. You know, what is carcinogenic and what is cancer? We always say cancer is multiplication of cells out of control. I always try to equate it to a riot. You know, think about all these communities in Kenya. Some communities have riots because somebody has incited them. So you can consider those people who are inciting them and making all those hate speeches. Those are carcinogenic. Yeah, those are, you can call them riotogenic. You know, they are causing the riots. So we know that certain things can cause cancer. And not everybody will get cancer. Just the same way you won't get every community or every school or any university going into cancer, into a riot. You know, so something happens in the body that eventually leads to the cells multiplying and going out of control, and that eventually causes cancer. And when we talk about carcinogenicity, we're looking at certain things, either food, we're looking at certain things in the environment, sunlight, radiation, that will induce that formation of cancer. So here, in this particular context, we are looking at a situation whereby the WHO, through a panel of experts, is saying, hang on, processed meat is carcinogenic. And I think that's the debate we're going to have today. All right. Dr.
Nyongesa, I will come to you. This is worrying to some Kenyans from the responses that we are getting. How then do you determine the red meats and the processed meats and the level of carcinogenicity that they have?
I think despite that report, people should not be hysterical or panic, because the risk of them causing cancer is so small. We have other competing risk factors, and what people are being told is maybe eat it to moderation, and also try to improve or modify other risk factors that can put you to cancer. For example, even if you refuse to eat meat and you are not exercising, you are smoking, you are drinking heavily, you know you have a higher risk of getting cancer than somebody even who is taking their meat and they are exercising. So moderation is really the key, and not completely cutting out.
All right. What certain cancers are we talking about when we're talking about processed meats and red meat?
From that report, they're focusing mainly on colon cancer, a few cases of pancreatic cancer, cancer of the pancreas, and they have mentioned even prostate.
Yeah. And colon cancer does not only affect men?
No. It affects both men and women.
It cuts across.
Yeah, and in our community, in our country, I think we have other major risk factors and not really the meat as the priority.
All right. Agnes, this report says every 50 grams of red meat consumed increases your risk of cancer by 18%. As I had asked Dr. Nyongesa, should we stop eating red meat altogether or processed meat altogether, or how then do we balance our diet?
I think people should not be stigmatized by that report because we cannot stop eating meat because there are other benefits that we get from eating meat. We know that meat is a very rich source of iron, which helps in the manufacture of hemoglobin and therefore helps to keep our blood levels within the normal levels. Meat also has other sources of nutrients like vital vitamins, the B vitamins that are important in the body metabolism. Meat is also a very good source of other nutrients, minerals like zinc and selenium, which help to boost immunity and also perform other functions in our body. So the fact that WHO has linked consumption of red meat to cancer does not mean that we should stop eating meat. What we need to do in terms of good nutrition, we should consume a variety of foods in moderation. For every type of food, there is an amount that you're supposed to consume every day. When you exceed that amount, then you increase the risk of getting the side effects of excessive consumption of those nutrients or ingredients that are in that type of food. So my advice from me as a nutritionist is that people should consume food in moderation and also variety. You see, meat is just one of the sources of protein. There are so many other sources of protein. We have poultry, we have beans, very many different kinds of beans. We have fish, which give us the same protein that we get from meat. So when you ensure that you're consuming different types of foods every day, then you find that you distribute the risk that is associated with any of the foods that you consume.
How does, and I'll put this to all three of you, how then does the cooking method affect the carcinogenicity again?
Maybe I should interject at this point. I think we are all demonizing WHO for nothing. Actually, if you read the WHO report, it was just a 2-page report, very detailed, I must say. And what it was saying, it didn't say that people should stop eating red meat. Actually, it says red meat is a risk factor, but it says processed meat is a high risk factor. It's a class 1 carcinogen. We are putting it at the same category as smoking, as asbestos. By that I mean that it will cause the same effect as smoking. So if you read the report, it actually says for a long time, I mean Dr. Nyongesa knows, for a long time we always tell our patients stop, cut down on red meat. So for many years, in fact from I think 2004, there is more and more evidence. But what WHO has done, put a panel of people, they look, 22 experts for that matter, they looked at over 800 studies, and there is no doubt. For a fact is that if you consume red meat, people who consume red meat have a higher risk. Now, what they decide to do now is to quantify that risk. And when they quantify the risk, they say for every 50 grams, you increase your risk by 18%. So if you are not taking meat at all, your risk is to the natural population or anybody who's taking less than 50 grams. But the minute you go over 50 grams a day, then you are of red meat, your risk start going higher.
To be fair, Dr. Kalebi, we currently, modern day Kenya, we are hearing more and more people dying, due to cancer, and the number I understand is going to be higher than the deaths that are caused by HIV and AIDS. And when we're talking about meat, this is something that every middle-income family has in their supper or their dinner or lunch almost every single day. So when you're talking cancer, the perception, obviously, it raises a red flag. As she's saying, moderation, but
I'll say this, we always talk about lifestyle modification. So lifestyle, what is lifestyle? I mean, think about it. I mean, I grew up from a humble background whereby if you eat meat, it was really, meat was a treat. But right now, I mean, exactly. But right now for the middle class, I mean, eating meat for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, until you actually get tired of meat. And meat is all over. So what WHO is saying right now is it's a problem across the world, and wherever you have affluence, there is more consumption of red meat, and that leads to problems, and that's what we should be focusing on. Yeah.
All right, so I'll go back to my question on the cooking methods. Therefore, how does that affect, you know, the carcinogenicity, again, tough word, of, you know, the risk causing cancer to your body if you overcook your meat or processed meat? If you overcook your meat, the kind of heat that you expose it to, do you microwave first before you cook? How then does the temperatures and the cooking methods affect that?
Maybe I should just define what processing is referred to in this context, and that report actually mentions it. Things that you do to alter the taste of food and to also increase its lifespan, I mean longevity or shelf life. And here maybe you're talking about cooking, and if you're so boiling meat and slightly warming it is better than nyama choma, like you see all this burnt stuff over here. Sausage, to make sausage, you know, you have like to grind the meat and then put it into some really heated compartment and then compress it. That contains a lot of meat, and that is processed meat. You add chemical additives. Now, meat in itself is good, as we are told. It has iron, it has all these things, but the minute you heat it, certain compounds in it start behaving differently. So you're not eating just meat anymore, you're eating meat which has been altered, and that's what becomes processed. And that causes what we call hydrocarbons. Now those hydrocarbons, nitrosamines and other compounds, polycyclic aromatase and the rest, all these things will eventually are carcinogenic. On their own, they've been proven to be carcinogenic. Now in meat, we don't know what's the quantity. So what WHO report is saying, epidemiologically, if you look at population and statistics, this thing have increased, and now what we probably need to do, the rest of us, is to now study it more and see what is the actual risk associated with it.
Okay, and probably what I can add to that is that I think processed meats have a greater risk of causing cancer compared to red meat because of the chemicals that are used in processing, especially the sausages, the bacon, and so on. There's a compound called nitrite that I used to give it its red and pink color that is attractive, and also that nitrite is helps to increase the longevity of the meat by trying to prevent growth of a certain very deadly bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. So this is not new information. We know that it has been there. So what people should do is that, how we translate this information is very important. When we are told avoid, does not mean do not consume. It just tells us to eat in moderation, maybe less frequently, probably consume on occasions, as opposed to consuming that food on a daily basis.
All right. And even if it's on daily, really, majority of, our people, they don't eat meat in the morning, meat at lunch, meat at dinner. You know, it will be boring, and then every day. It is not practical. So people somehow keep on mixing, and what they're saying is reduce the amount. Then you're asking about cooking. I think the WHO still doesn't give us guidelines on how we should prepare our meat, but generally we suggest that it should be well cooked.
All right, Dr. Nyongesa, again to you. There's a question that, is it true that we all have, cancer cells in our bodies?
Yes. Majority of the cancer the cells in our body, well, if you have a cell, that cell can become cancerous. And as we grow older, the risk of getting cancer increases, and there's nothing you can do about it. The environment, the radiation, we get radiation from everywhere, even from individuals, like I'm getting radiation from her, you're getting radiation from him. So things you can't avoid. We're getting radiation from the sun, from the land. So all those things which are background increase our risk, and our cells can actually become cancerous. But our body keeps fighting them, and most of them do not really multiply abnormally until they become cancerous. Our body keeps shutting them down. Some immune system keeps shutting them down. So as the risk increases, that is when now things go haywire, and then you start developing cancer.
All right, I see a question here. Please comment on Maasai meat and blood consumption. How does that relate? Okay.
Yeah, I think, also it depends on like the grazing of these animals. You know, traditionally our cattle graze on grass, which is it doesn't have any processes, any strange chemicals, and it's safe to consume. And I've seen a lot of Maasai communities, by the way, they live long because of that meat consumption. So the thing is, it's just a wake-up call, but that we should not panic, because the relative increase, the risk that you get by taking meat is very small. Yeah.
All right. There's a question here saying, Jackie, I'm a mother of an 8 weeks girl. My baby has been crying all through since birth. At first I was told it's colic, but today I was told it's reflux. Could the doctors help me please again, because I'm losing it? And also, does this affect what the mother has been eating? Does this in any way affect from the mother to the baby, and in terms of her consumption of this kind of foods?
Not necessarily. I mean, colic, babies crying is very common in the first few months, but with the time the child would outgrow that.
From mother to child?
Actually, the real causes of colic are actually not known. I think what happens is that they have been trying to associate probably consumption of certain foods with the colic, but we cannot for sure say that certain foods do cause colic. When a mother consumes certain foods, then the babies get colic. So just to be on the safe side, because we actually do not have strong evidence associating certain foods with colic, we just tell mothers probably try and avoid consumption of certain foods and see whether that helps.
Change.
Yes, and there are also other ways of managing colic other than just maybe modifying the mother's diet.
All right.
Just to add a point about Maasais and meat. I mean, again, going back to this report, 50 grams is sort of like the cutoff that we are seeing from the studies. It doesn't mean that at 50 grams, then you remember that it's a cumulative risk. So the more meat you consume, the more it is processed, the more the risk. Now, Maasais are not heavy consumers of processed meat, and actually they eat healthy meat. And I was just asking one of my colleagues who's a Maasai, and they were saying, look, you go to Narok, you just don't get meat everywhere, but you go to certain places in River Road and you see the amount of meat that is being consumed there. So the consumption of meat among the Maasais is not as unhealthy as we tend to think. Yeah. So
and then also, if you look at the lifestyle of the Maasais, you know, they're not sedentary. They walk long miles to go and graze their pasture. But if you look at the lifestyle in urban settings and also in the developed countries, you find that there's a lot of sedentary lifestyle. And then if you look at also livestock production in the developed countries, you know, these livestock are not fed on natural pasture like the way the Maasai cows feed on the tree, on the shrubs and grass, natural grass. You know, these cows are fed on feeds that are artificially produced. They are injected with a lot of chemicals and so on. So we actually don't know. Probably those are some of the things that are contributing or to increasing the risk of cancer from such like animals brought up or bred with such like technology.
Yes. Indeed. And just to read a few more messages from you, we do appreciate your feedback. John Ole Taiswa from Narrow County says, I agree with the person that says eating vegetables that have been sprayed with insecticide can cause a cancer. Again, for the red meat, it has to be understood that red meat is not bad. What is bad is buying meat from a cow which was undergoing treatment. You end up buying a steak where it was injected with teramycin. Right? Did I get it correct?
Antibiotics. Yeah.
All right. What I want to put straight is that medicine, insecticide, and animals injected medicine are what is causing cancer all over. Proceed. Meat ni madawa too. Get to the point. We will be discussing this, and of course do keep sending us your feedback. What are your thoughts on this? 22422. Send us your name and your location, and of course a brief comment on Twitter at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is Monday Special KE. We'll be back after these messages. Thank you for staying with Monday Special. We're discussing the relationship between processed and red meats and cancer. And my very able panel was just now, during the break, we're discussing what is moderation. As Agnes, you were telling us, your moderation, as you're saying, will not be the same as yours. And before we come to you, Agnes, and that when we're saying 50 grams, increases your risk by 18%, what do we mean then by 50 grams? We have, a very interesting display here of mixed meat. We have sausages, we have the usual nyama choma, we have the usual kuku choma as well. Daktari, what do you mean by 50 grams?
Okay, when you talk about, remember you talk about processed meat. It's the processed meat that is the main problem, not the meat generally. And here we talk about processed meat in terms of, if I may use that, so you're talking about sausages. So one sausage is roughly about 25 grams of meat. So you're talking about 2 sausages, 2 sausages, 50 grams.
That alone has increased your risk by 18%?
If you eat only that, then you are on average population. Now, if you take every extra 50 grams over and above your daily consumption of that increases your risk by 18%. So for the person who takes for the person who takes about 8 sausages a day, and I know people do that, and they take slices of bacon and others, no, that becomes a higher risk.
Now, when your breakfast consists of, your 2 sausages and some bacon over there, and when you come to your 10 o'clock tea, you have the same thing. When you go to your 4 o'clock tea, you have the same thing.
Absolutely.
And it's on a daily basis.
And remember as well that we're not talking about white meat, we're talking about red meat. And here, our nutritionist, she can actually explain more about the issue of the red meat, the white meat, and the processing of the meat. So if you're eating sausage, that on its own is processed meat. They're talking about nyama choma at lunchtime, and we know the kind of Kenyan men eating nyama choma for lunch almost on a daily basis.
Yes. So like if you're eating processed meat, like maybe what is allowed is just no more than 50 grams a day. So if you have your 2 sausages in the morning, then don't serve bacon, or if you want bacon and sausage, then you'll have to take a piece of sausage and a slice of bacon, so that you don't exceed the recommended consumption amount. And then with regard to red meat, you can see that size of meat, okay, about 6 pieces of this size of meat are about 30 grams. So 12 pieces will amount to about 60 grams. And roughly, maybe the size of meat that we get in a burger would be about 100 grams. And as Daktari said, what that report says, the WHO report says, is that we should consume no more than 500 grams of meat in a week. So that means to distribute your risk and to avoid excessive consumption, don't eat red meat every day. You can have chicken, a piece of chicken like a drumstick is sufficient protein at a meal. You can have some beans, about half a cup of cooked beans is a serving of protein. You can have some fish, fish that are about the size of my palm, okay, is sufficient for a meal, protein as a meal. You can also have eggs, but when you consume eggs, you know that eggs are high in cholesterol, so no more than an egg a day. You can actually consume an egg a day because we get cholesterol from other food sources as well. So you can have eggs, which are also a good source of protein, and also milk is a good source of protein. So the thing is, variety in the diet is very important. Consume different kinds of proteins every day, and then also moderate on your portion. Do not consume large portions. And people who should take caution are those who are from middle to high income families, because those are the high consumers of red meat and processed meats. You find that people in the rural areas maybe rarely or can hardly afford meat. Okay, so their risk of getting cancer associated to consumption of red meat is much lower than those who come from middle and high income backgrounds. And then also, as a nutritionist, what I would advise is eat a healthy diet every day. As much as we're talking about meat, but the basis of preventing most of the diseases, including cancer, is eating a healthy diet. And in a healthy diet, what many people don't consume are fruits and vegetables. And we know that fruits and vegetables are loaded with vitamins and antioxidants that prevent the formation of radicals, which lead to the formation of cancer. So ensuring that you consume at least 3 servings of fruit a day. Variety, there are many different varieties of fruits. Take advantage of what is in season, and also ensure that you consume vegetables, 2 servings of vegetables a day at your lunch and dinner meals, and also don't overcook your vegetables so that you preserve the nutrients therein. And then also eat foods that are high in fiber. Foods that are high in fiber are like grains that are not processed, whole meal grains, like if you eat bread, the whole grain wheat, whole grain rye. If you eat ugali, you know, the flour that is milled in the posho mill as opposed to the processed refined flour. High fiber foods that are high in fiber, the fiber helps to increase the transit time of food in the gut, so the food does not stay in the colon and increase your risk of getting cancer and other diseases that are associated to the large intestines. So eating foods that are high in fiber, and also ensuring that you consume or you drink a lot of water every day. Okay, water also helps to detoxify, you know, wash out toxins and waste from the body. So eat a healthy diet that is rich in fruits and vegetables, a diet that is high in fiber. As much as possible, you know, if a healthy diet is one that is not that does not have a lot of processed foods, minimal processing. Of course, we can't avoid processing foods, because processing is one way of increasing the shelf life of food and preserving food, and also improving on flavor, taste, and so on. So as much as we advise people to eat healthy and fresh foods, it doesn't mean that they should completely avoid the processed types of food.
But when you're talking about, you know, eating vegetables, are there safe vegetables and non-safe vegetables? When you're taking your salads, for instance, they're raw from where they're being grown from. Is there any concern there?
The concern with fresh foods are probably maybe the chemicals that are used in production, the fertilizers, the herbicides, and other chemicals that are used to improve the crop production. So that would be our worry. And then also the soil where the vegetables are grown. There are certain soils that may have heavy metals, and some of the heavy metals can actually cause the cancers that we're talking about. Consuming foods that are organically grown could be one of the ways of ensuring that you're consuming foods that are very low, that have very low levels of toxic chemicals. And also, of course, it's important to use the pesticides and so on to control pesticides and weeds. But there are also safe levels of consumption. So we have authorities that are concerned with checking the levels of such like chemicals before they actually go out to the market. We have Kenya Consumer Organization, we have Kenya Bureau of Standards that actually check the levels of those chemicals, and if at all there is a problem, then they will ensure that necessary measures are put into place. So yes, so ensuring that you take advantage of what is in season and also what is locally produced, because you find that the Western world is now importing a lot of organic foods from Africa and Kenya, and we are growing those foods. Instead of consuming them ourselves, we are exporting them. Yes, so it's high time now we go back to our traditional foods. That is what I'd recommend as a nutritionist, because we find that our traditional foods are very rich in nutrients, maybe there are not many chemicals used in their production. So you find that the risk of causing some of these diseases that we are seeing, currently uprising, are very low.
Okay, the key word here, if you have been hearing the words coming out, avoid processed. Avoid processed. And if you talk about processed meat, instead of taking processed meat, take fresh meat. Instead of taking processed grains, take wholesome grains. Instead of taking processed vegetables, take fresh vegetables. And actually, if you go to the Western world now, the people who are eating unprocessed food are the wealthier people, because they know the value of that. And actually also happening, the people who are eating the burgers, the people who are eating all these processed juices, those are the people who cannot afford. And that's becoming cheaper. But for us in the middle class, and this middle lifestyle, that's what we are going for, all the processed stuff. And that is where the unhealthiness is coming about,
And it's just generally about lifestyle, you know. It's not just, you know, eating the processed meats or the red meat. It's lifestyle in totality. You eat this kind of meat in the portions that you're saying that, you know, we're exceeding the limit that we should, but then we're not half a kilo a day, and we're not exercising, you know, we're not keeping to a certain lifestyle that should also be keeping us healthy. Do you deal with a lot of that when you're seeing your patients?
Yes, but what I would say is that I mean, there are certain risk factors for cancer which actually you cannot do anything about it. Okay, you can exercise, you can eat healthy, you can even avoid eating processed or red meat, you even avoid taking cigarettes, but you'll still get cancer. So the thing is, people should not panic, because if it's something you can do about it, like exercise, try. Okay, people are busy. We've adopted very busy lifestyle, and maybe you don't have time to go. But as you know, cancer is increasingly in developing countries, and developing countries, majority of our people are surviving on less than $1 a day. So I wouldn't say they are actually surviving on processed meat, but they are getting cancer, which means there are other risk factors out there that are actually increasing the cancer.
I'm seeing a question here that if I take, say, 3 kilos in a week, but I exercise and I keep fit, then am I good?
The answer is
3 kilos of meat is too much.
Say a week.
Actually, it is too much. So, as Dr. said, you can do all those things, exercise and do all those things, but your risk, you can still get cancer.
But the other health problems, you have to remember.
Yes, the other health problems. It's not just about cancer. There is cholesterol in the meat, increasing your risk of cardiovascular illnesses. And as I told you, as I mentioned earlier, excess of anything is harmful to the body. So even as much as fruits and vegetables are good, they are rich in vitamins and so on, but you should not limit. Yes, you should not overconsume them. Like I come across some people who just eat fruit salad for lunch just because they know that fruits are rich in vitamins and they are healthy. I mean, eating fruit salad for lunch is not healthy at all, because your body requires other types of nutrients. You require carbohydrates, you need proteins, you need fat. So everything should be done in moderation and give the body what it requires. Do not give it less, do not give it more. Any less or more will bring about a problem.
That guy with the 3 kilos should check his waist circumference.
But if he's burning the fat, you know, the key is burn the fat. If you are able to burn it, there's no problem with taking 3 kilos, probably spreading it out.
Okay, I want to come back to you. We've discussed how to avoid you know, your risk of cancer through the processed and red meats, but now let's discuss those who already have cancer, the cancer patients, and specifically to you, Dr. Nyongesa. How then do they balance their intake of processed and red meats, cancer patients?
Okay, the thing is, once you have cancer, it is difficult to you already you have it, so you're not modifying the risk. And I encourage my cancer patients, because they need to eat healthy, because they are going through, say, chemotherapy or radiotherapy, and they need to be strong enough to go through those treatments. So that is not the time you start dieting and starving. Really, they should still continue eating healthy and to moderation.
Keyword is eating healthy and in moderation.
Yes.
And keep a healthy lifestyle and exercise and take a lot of water. I want to take your very last comments as we wind up. I'm just going to give you some numbers from the Kenya Cancer National Control Strategy 2011 to 2016, these past 5 years. And the numbers we're getting, the deaths from colorectal cancer, the annual mortality, 639,000 deaths every year. The ones that we know, you're right. But the general feeling that we're getting also from our responses is that it's very difficult to link particularly processed and red meats to this. Right or wrong?
Actually, the other thing that we didn't mention and we discussed it during the break is that we're not saying that processed meat is the maker of cancer. It's not the one that makes the cancer. It is a marker. It marks the people who are at risk of getting the cancer. So in other words, it's not a causation. You remember, this report is looking at population and saying these people have a higher risk. So the people who tend to eat red meat, we don't know, is it because they also consume more alcohol, they have an unhealthy lifestyle, they don't exercise? All we can say is if you look at that population, their risk goes up as they eat more meat. So it's possible that the people who eat more meat, and like the Maasais whom we talk about walking for long distances, here we talk about is a marker of unhealthiness. Now, if people become self-conscious, and I won't be apologetic about this, people just have to cut down on their red meat. Because the minute you start cutting down on red meat because you are thinking about cancer, you become more conscious about your health, you start thinking about other things, you start thinking about exercising, and that's what we should emphasize. And I don't want that message to go away, because you're talking about the WHO here, you're talking about experts here, and there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to try and reduce the consumption of red meat and processed meat.
All right, Agnes, your winding comments?
I think for me, with regard to red meat and cancer, is that people should not be stigmatized. They should not be terrorized by this report. Everything should be done in moderation. So if you are a consumer of processed meat, please do so in moderation and eat the processed meats on occasions, like maybe when you have a workshop, when you go on holiday and you're in a hotel.
In this country?
As opposed to eating it in your house every day. If you do consume it in your house, probably you can keep it to once a week and probably no more than 2 sausages in a day. If you're eating a variety of them, take little bits of each, but consume red meat in moderation, and also consume other sources of protein like the beans. I told you they're a good source of protein. They're also high in fiber, and fiber helps to lower blood cholesterol levels, and also prevent some of the gastrointestinal diseases. And then eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. Drink a lot of water to cleanse your body, and also exercise or lead an active life.
All right. Dr. Nyongesa, your winding comments?
Yes, for me, I think people should not panic. They should continue eating to moderation. And then we also need to understand that cancer is a complex disease. Even with the best minds, people have not unraveled the actual food that causes cancer, nor nobody has said that actual food that can cure cancer. No single food. So it's still very complex, and a lot of money, billions, have been spent on research, and we still don't have the answer. And red meat or processed meat is just a small risk factors, but I think we should worry about the bigger risk factors, which are genetic, and some of them are because of the age. Using tobacco, for example, excessive smoking, excessive use of alcohol, those even are bigger risks than just meat.
All right.
Yeah. To mention that, I think it's fair that we do it. We have spoken for almost an hour, and the important thing is people who are at risk of cancer, particularly colorectal cancer. I'm talking about people with a family history. So if you have a member of your family who has had colon cancer, you want to be checked more regularly. People who are more than 50 years of age, and that's why you find in places like the UK, it's a national program of people being screened, and we check whether you have any blood in your stool. There are very simple tests that you can do in the laboratory to check for that. And the people who have blood in their stool, there are certain tests that we do what we call colonoscopy. They look inside the colon to see whether you have any lesions in the colon that can lead to cancer. And I think the important thing is to screen so that we can have early detection. But even with that, there'll still be people who will end up getting the cancer anyway. But ultimately, what we are trying to do is minimize our risk. Like somebody was trying to say, if you're told the risk of having a car crash on the road if you go out in the rain is higher, it means when you go out in the rain, you are going to be a bit more careful. You don't speed too much and so on. So we're looking at how do we reduce the risk and what do we do to cut down our risk of getting some of these things here.
All right, exactly. And as you hear, a healthy lifestyle will go a long way in changing this or managing the risk. Do keep talking to us on 22422 and on Twitter at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is Monday Special KE. Don't go away. We'll be back after this short break. Hussein Mohammed will be joining me after the break. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying with Monday Special. Now, right before we started this discussion, Hussein had said he's going to be a vegetarian. Has that changed?
No, it doesn't. I didn't say I'm a vegetarian.
You did?
But
Just because you didn't get it on camera, you said.
Let's take a look at your feedback on Twitter first. What have you been saying? Daniel_CMO science sometimes misleads. The Maasai depend on meat entirely for survival and are among their healthiest tribes. Okay.
Nyamahu says, Monday Special KE, in as much as I don't eat red meat, this topic is very educative. Sorry to say.
Chelimo, people die of cancer in the village yet they don't eat meat regularly. They eat veggies mostly. What happens? And at Magda Cascos, from today, if I won't be affording white meat, I will be eating green so that I can stay safe from cancers. Now that you say that, Miriam here on 22422 says that cancer can get everyone and anyone. My mom has lung cancer, sorry for that. All her life she has lived and eaten healthy, and she has led a healthy lifestyle. My grandpa, my uncle, my cousin have passed on with cancer. It can be hereditary, so we can't tag cancer on what we eat only.
Indeed, and someone says, Monday Special, my big question is who will talk to the government of Kenya to treat cancer as a national disaster and have free treatment for all cancer patients? Why watch a full population be wiped out? Interesting.
Right, so thank you for your comments and your feedback on 22422 on Twitter, and thank you for watching Monday Special. But I'll leave you with this text from George Dodo in Kakuma, Turkana. After all this talk, this is what he says. I'm concerned what will happen to the roasted meat on your table in the studio. It looks delicious.
And I have an answer for that again. Hussein, are you a vegetarian still? Right before this show started, actually.
I eat everything in moderation. So thank you for watching Monday Special. I'm Hussein Mohammed. Have a good night.
And I'm Jackie Maribe. Have a good night and God bless you. And we assure you this meat is going home with Hussein. Our lucky winner for the night. Hussein, take your prize. Take your prize. Thank you so much for joining us.